Welcome to week 2 of the relationship detox. Last week, we laid down the foundation for understanding narcissism, what it is, where it comes from, and how the early relationship with the mother or primary caregiver plays a key role in shaping narcissistic traits. Now we're going to take it one step further. Today, we'll explore why narcissists can't live a normal life. On the surface, they may seem like they have it all together, charming, successful, even charismatic at times. But beneath that mask lies a much deeper issue, a split between the false self they project to the world and the true self they hide deep within. And the farther that divide grows, the less chance they have of living a truly fulfilling normal life. Let's break down exactly why that is. At the core of narcissism is something called the false self. This is a persona that narcissists construct early in life, often as they respond to unmet emotional needs or inconsistent caregiving. The false self is a defense mechanism designed to protect them from feelings of unworthiness, shame, or failure. Here's what makes up the false self: grandiosity. They project an inflated sense of self-importance, acting as though they're better than others. Perfectionism. They go to great lengths to appear flawless, avoiding any feelings of inadequacy. Entitlement. They believe they deserve special treatment, often without doing anything to earn it. Lack of empathy. The false self is disconnected from real emotions, making it hard for them to genuinely care about the feelings of others. But here's the problem: the false self isn't real. It's a carefully constructed facade designed to protect them from vulnerability, and it has nothing to do with who they truly are deep down inside. Healthy people, in contrast, live authentically. They embrace both their strengths and weaknesses. Narcissists, on the other hand, hide behind this false self because they fear that showing their true selves will make them seem weak or unworthy. The false self needs constant external validation. Unlike emotionally healthy individuals who draw their sense of self-worth from within, narcissists rely on the outside world to maintain their false self. It's like building a house of cards: impressive but incredibly fragile. And it requires constant external support to keep standing. Constant need for admiration. Narcissists are always seeking admiration and attention to reinforce their false self. If they don't get this validation, the grandiose image they project starts to crumble, leaving them vulnerable to feelings of shame and inadequacy. Because their primary goal is to maintain the false self, they rarely form deep, meaningful connections. Their relationships are often transactional. They interact with others to extract praise, admiration, or validation rather than to build emotional bonds. In contrast, healthy people don't need constant approval to feel secure. They engage in relationships based on mutual respect, trust, and emotional connections. For narcissists, this kind of deep connection is impossible because their entire self-worth is built on what others think of them, not on who they really are. Here's where things get even more problematic. Narcissists experience a fundamental split between their false self and true self. Over time, the divide between these two selves grows wider and much more complex. The false self is the grandiose, idealized image they show the world: perfect, powerful, and deserving of admiration. The true self is the part of them that's fragile, insecure, and filled with feelings of shame and inadequacy. It's the part they desperately try to hide, even from themselves. As the narcissist invests more energy into maintaining the false self, The true self gets buried deeper and deeper. The more they rely on the false self, the less they can access their authentic emotions or connect with others in meaningful ways. This creates kind of an emotional disconnection, not just from other people, but from themselves, and sometimes permanently. A huge part of living a normal human life is being able to connect emotionally with others, to understand their feelings, to share your own, and to form genuine reciprocal relationships. Narcissists simply can't do this because of their empathy deficit. The false self doesn't feel real emotions. And as a result, they struggle to understand or care about the emotions of others. The false self can't feel real emotions. Narcissists often disconnect from their own true feelings, so they struggle to connect with others on an emotional level. Their emotional life tends to be shallow and strategic. They may even display emotions like happiness or anger, but these are often used to manipulate others rather than to express genuine feelings. Healthy relationships are built on a balance of give and take. Narcissists, however, are much more focused on taking attention, admiration, validation without giving anything back. This lack of reciprocity makes it impossible for them to sustain real relationships. This emotional disconnection means that while they may seem successful or normal on the outside, they're missing out on one of the most important parts of the human experience: authentic, deep connection with others. Here's the truth: the false self is incredibly fragile. Narcissists live in constant fear of it being exposed or challenged, which is why they often react so intensely to criticism or rejection. This is known as narcissistic injury. When someone challenges their false self, whether it's through rejection, failure, or even mild criticism, they often react with rage or defensiveness. This is because their entire self image is built on the illusion of perfection. Any crack in that image threatens to expose the insecurities they've worked so hard to hide. Failure is a part of normal life, but for narcissists, any kind of failure directly undermines their false self, which is why they can't handle it. Instead of learning from mistakes or growing from setbacks, they often engage in blame shifting, denial, or manipulation to avoid confronting their flaws. For most of us, failure is an opportunity to learn and grow. But for narcissists, the need to protect the false self means they never truly face their shortcomings or evolve as people. Here's the saddest part: the divide between the false self and the true self will never close. The more the narcissist relies on their false self to navigate life, the farther they drift from their true self. This internal split means they can never live an authentic life. They will never be able to reconcile who they truly are with who they pretend to be. Over time, this divide grows so wide that the true self becomes unreachable. Narcissists remain trapped in a cycle of validation, seeking, manipulation, and emotional detachment, and they'll never experience the peace or freedom that comes from living authentically. The very structure of their personality keeps them from stuck in this exhausting performance, always seeking admiration but never feeling truly fulfilled. Narcissists cannot live a normal life. The reality is this: narcissists cannot live a normal life because their entire identity is built on a lie. The split between their false self and true self is so vast that they will never be able to experience the genuine, reciprocal, emotionally connected relationships that make life meaningful. Their relationships are shallow, their emotional lives are stunted, and their constant need to maintain the false self leaves them disconnected from their own feelings and the people around them. In short, narcissists may function in the world, but they will never truly live in the way emotionally healthy people do. Their false self will always stand in the way of living a life filled with real connection, growth, and authenticity.